Manifestation, how does it work? This is one of my favorite topics, actually. So as you can see, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting, sitting, waiting. Jack Johnson. I spend a lot of time in my car, as you've probably deduced at this point. Single mom of 4, so I'm like literally constantly fucking driving somebody somewhere or sitting in my car waiting for somebody. Anywho, so manifestation. This one comes up a lot. So manifest, this is a buzzword in the spiritual community, right? If you're on any type of spiritual page, you see it all the time. Manifestation. Lots of people talking about it. Not a lot of people talking about how to do it, right? Which is par for the course in the spiritual community. There's lots of ideas floating around, out in the ethers, but not a lot of people actually teaching you how to ground those ideas down into this earth realm that we are all stuck in. So how do I do it? Well, as you can imagine, I use astrology, right? I'm not a fan of people who talk about manifestation and don't really back it up with methods. I have actually gotten into it with several people in the spiritual community about this, because there is this idea with some practitioners, not all, but there's, enough of them out there that think that they can manifest whatever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want. And to that I say bullshit, right? I call absolute bullshit on that. That's a really easy claim to make over social media when nobody's forcing you to back it up. But here in the physical reality, the truth of the matter is that the earth realm is extremely dense. There's a lot of energy that we have to slog through here. So you can set intentions to manifest something. And every now and again, maybe you'll get lucky. Like maybe the intention that you set is so aligned with where the universe wants you to be. Maybe you were so close to reaching it anyway that it happens basically, instantaneously. But that's the exception to the rule. That's not the rule itself, right? The vast majority of intentions that we set, especially if we're intending to manifest large scale desire, it takes time, right? It takes time. And sometimes it doesn't happen at all, right? Sometimes we wish for things, or we desire things that are not for our highest and greatest good. And the universe, is like, no, sorry, like you're not going to manifest that relationship. It's just not what's in the cards for you. We as humans, we don't always know what's best for us. And, that's just the sad reality of it. So, but yeah, I mean, manifestation is real, right? There are ways to do it. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about the methodology that I use. So I use the moon cycles, for manifestation. And I do this for a couple of reasons. One, it provides structure, right? Time-wise, it provides structure and gives you kind of an idea of how long things are taking. And if maybe you should abandon some of the desires that you've set down because you've been really trying to manifest them for a while, and, based on moon cycles, it just doesn't seem to be happening for you, you can kind of know that, like, okay, maybe I need to release this one and start something else. The other reason for using astrology is because it helps you to align your intentions and the things that you want to manifest with the energy that's actually in play in your life at any given moment, right? And that's going to look different for everybody. So the technique that I use applies across the board. Absolutely anybody can use it. But the variations start to come in with the charts, right? My chart is not the same as your chart, is not the same as the next person's chart. Everybody's chart is different. So the new moon is going to go off in one specific degree of the zodiac. Yes, that's true for everybody, but that same new moon could be in my first house, in your 6th house, and someone else's 12th house, and someone else's 10th house, right? And it could be conjunct Venus in my chart, it could be squaring Jupiter in your chart, it could be conjunct Mars in another chart, right? So all of those things, you want to pay attention to them, because when they show up, it is the universe basically saying, okay, look, this is the information that I want you to tailor your intentions to, right? Pay attention to these specific brands of energy, to these specific archetypes, and set intentions that are aligned with them. Why? Because you have a much, much higher chance of manifesting what you want if you have the wind at your back from a universal energy perspective, right? Now we've talked about free will. You can absolutely swim upstream and, wish for a boyfriend every fucking month, which I have clients who do this shit, and it drives me absolutely fucking bananas, because it's like they're so desperate for a relationship that I had a client once, and I swear to God, she's Jupiter in the 10th house, right? Which in layman's terms is amazing energy for, abundance in your career, right? And she had a new moon going off like exactly conjunct this particular Jupiter position. And I talked to her, I was coaching her, and I was like, listen, you need to set an intention around your career. And like, she wasn't happy like in her career either, and she wanted to switch. And she, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, you need to set this intention now. You're going to get a better job. You're going to get a pay raise. You're going to get all the things. And I'm telling you, like, you kind of can't lose with this type of energy behind you. She set a fucking intention for a boyfriend. Again. And I'm like, I can't, there's nothing I can do, right? I can't control what other people do. But it's like, all right, look, the 10th house is nothing sexy about the fucking 10th house. It's not a love house. It's not a romance house. It's not a relationship house, right? It's about your reputation and the highest and greatest things that you can achieve here on the earth realm. And if you are a woman who thinks the highest and greatest thing that you can achieve here in the earth realm is a fucking partnership with a dude, like, fuck out of here, right? Like, there's so many bigger, which is not, whatever. Obviously relationships are important. I'm not saying they aren't, but there are times when that type of energy is triggered, and this was not one of those times for her. So, how does this work? Well, let me stop for a second and shamelessly plug for just a minute. I have an event coming up. I haven't set the specific date for it yet, but it's probably going to be towards the end of March or early April. And I do this event every year. It's a moon manifestation event. And I always time it around the time of the spring equinox and whenever the first new moon of the actual new year happens. So the new moon in Aries. And there's reasons that I do that, right? And so what happens is we sit down and you give me your birth information and I plug in all of the new moons. I overlay them onto your chart and I basically explain to you all the stuff that I'm talking about now, because a lot of people are into this. They love this technique, but they don't have enough understanding of astrology to really know how to put all the pieces together, which is fine because that's why I exist, right? I will do this for you and I will teach you, this methodology. So that event is coming up. Like I said, I haven't planned specifically the date yet, but I will be doing it. I did not do it last year. I have done it for the last several years, but last year I had my head up my ass in more ways than one. And I just didn't do it. And I, honest to God, didn't even think anybody would notice. And let me tell you that, like, it took a little while, but starting around like the beginning of the summer, I started getting these like incredulous emails from clients being like, I can't believe that you didn't do the new moon event. Did I miss it? Did I like miss an email? And I was like, no, I just actually didn't do it. So I will not make that mistake again. I will, that event will be happening. If you are not on my mailing list, get on it. Go to my website. It's right on the homepage. You can sign up for my mailing list there. If you've ever booked with me, you're already on it. But if you haven't ever booked anything with me, then chances are you might not be on it. So you don't have to spend any money to get on my mailing list. Just go right to my website and you can MissFortuneMinistries.com and you can get on there. Sign up for free. And the reason I'm saying that is because people on my mailing list get first priority for everything that I do. So when I do set this event down, I will send an email out to my mailing list and you guys will get a few days lead time to book. And this event sells out pretty much every time that I do it. So definitely worth it to get on my mailing list and to get a head start on that booking. But anyway, okay, shameless plug over. What does this look like? And I'm going to talk in real general terms because, again, this is going to vary. It's going to look differently for everybody based on your own unique astrology. But using the moon to manifest looks a lot like paying attention to the moon cycle, right? So the moon is our fastest mover around the zodiac. She takes only 29 days to complete the entire cycle, right? She comes full circle every 29 days. She spends approximately 2.5 days in each sign. So there comes a time in the moon cycle where the moon lines up energetically exactly in the same location with the sun, by sign and degree, right? So if the sun currently is in Aquarius, the moon will at some point during the sun's travel through Aquarius, the moon will meet up with the sun at the same energetic degree, and that is the new moon. Now, the new moon is for intention setting. This is when we decide what is it that we want to manifest. We don't expect it to manifest immediately, right? Although, in an infinite universe, that is certainly possible. But again, that's the exception. That's not the rule. We are simply focusing on planting the seed, right? The new moon is the darkest portion of the cycle. The sun and the moon line up and the sun just completely swallows up the moon's light at that point. It's very, very dark, right? Energetically, similar to when you plant a seed, right? You put that little sucker down there in the dirt, you bury him, and you just kind of like hope for the best. You don't know if it's going to sprout. Hopefully it will, and hopefully it will be an abundant plant, but you never know, right? This is kind of like the part where we're like, oh, I hope conditions are right. And this is what we're aiming to do, is make sure that conditions are right energetically so that you can grow that fucking plant. So we set the intentions then. When do we expect to, and then we work for them. Okay. This is why the analogy of the seed is actually so apt, because this is another thing that people say is like, you just set the intentions, like just set it and forget it. Right. Again, no, right? No. And of course there will be those times where you have set an intention that is just so bloody aligned with where the universe wants you to be that you don't really feel, you don't have to work too hard to get it, but that's not common. Just like planting a seed, you got to water that fucking seed, right? You may have to pick weeds around the seed, right? There are different things that are going to happen over the course of time, so for you to manifest the highest and greatest of that potential, right, that you've asked for. So you don't just set it and forget it in most cases. But when do you expect it to manifest? Well, a lot of practitioners will tell you, oh, by the time the moon is full, 2 weeks later, right? Because that's what happens. We have the new moon, and then approximately 14, 15 days later, the moon will move to a position opposite, right? 180 degrees opposite the sun, at which point manifestation is supposed to take place. However, not on that 2-week scale. And I'll tell you why. First and foremost, 2 weeks is not really enough time to manifest most large scale desire. Like it's just not, right? If it is, then you're not aiming high enough, right? You need to be wishing for bigger, better things. So it's not enough time, but also there's incongruence that comes along with doing it this way. Because say, for example, we set an intention during an Aquarius new moon. Okay. So we have the Aquarius new moon. What's going to happen is that the next full moon that happens 2 weeks later, depending on where the cycle is, that full moon is either going to be in Leo or it could be in Virgo, right? Like it just depends on like where the sun is, but it's not going to be in Aquarius, right? That full moon is not going to be in Aquarius, which means you're setting an intention in the Aquarius sector of the chart, whatever that is for you, and you're expecting it to manifest when the luminaries are energizing a completely different sector of the chart, one that's like 100% across the way, right? So it doesn't make sense, right? There's no alignment to that. So what we actually look for with manifestation is a 6-month period, right? So I set the intention when the new moon is in Aquarius, for example, and I don't expect to manifest that desire until on or before, or possibly a little bit after, the full moon in Aquarius, which will happen 6 months later when the sun is actually in Leo, right? So that gives us some breathing room. It gives us time to actually work and till the soil, right? And grow the best possible plant that we can. It also ensures that the full moon is going off in the same energy sector as the intention that we set. And it just overall provides for a better experience. Now, yeah, you're going to probably have to wait a little bit longer, but like, anything worth having is, you got to wait for it, right? So, and again, there's a lot of different variables, right? So Aquarius, I'm just using Aquarius as the example, but that, for me, Aquarius is the 6th house. For somebody else, it might be the 1st, right? For somebody else, it might be the 10th. So we're setting intentions around that area of life. And then there's always the variable of, do I have any planets anywhere near where this moon is going off? Because if you do, trust and believe, you want to actually incorporate the energy of that planet too. So you can fine tune and set intentions that are so specifically tailored to your chart that the universe is just kind of like, yes, bitch, yes, I'm going to give you this because you actually took the time, to think about it and to put some energy into it, right? I've seen this method. I use this method. I have taught this method to tons and tons of people. I get people come to me all the time after the fact being like, holy shit, like I just got this, or I just got that, I've literally seen people manifest all manner of things for themselves using this technique. And so I highly, highly recommend it. Again, like I said, if you are interested in that event, keep an eye out for it because it will be going up soon. I'm going to get it posted soon. And yeah, moon manifestation or manifestation in general, highly recommend.